shades.
Oh my.
Letting her go, letting her rip.
Oh my, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my, we are playing it cool tonight. Oh, we are playing it cool. We're going to play it cool with the black shirt, with the Vaylock sheriff hat. Oh, there needs to be some handcuffs used tonight. Oh my God. I told myself earlier, hold on, let me get the mic down for you just a little bit so we ain't blowing your pretty little ears that we can't hurt, ladies and gentlemen. We can't hurt your ears tonight. Let me tell you, the other night when the news broke that Ricky Thornton Jr. parted ways, this beautiful word or in the SSI Motorsports team. I had already had a few drinks in me, and I had me an Indy 500 moment, but at this point, I did not regret really anything I did when in that situation the other night. I did not really regret anything that I had said or did. Obviously, I was upset. I think everybody was upset. I was releasing the passion. And then tonight, we were getting ready to go to an old man's birthday. Randy from Zanesville's birthday tonight. He's not here with us today. He got slammed at the old West Texas Steakhouse just up the road in some St. Clairsville, Ohio, or some crap like that. But then, before we walk out the door, I received text messages left and right. How Hudson O'Neal has been officially announced to the, hold on, somebody's blowing me up. Oh my God. This is the other issue that people are misunderstanding. We're not going to talk about what that guy just said. I'm not listening to these schemes that are out there. There's people spinning their tails. I'll say that on the reasoning behind this. I know what's going on. I know why this partnership ended between the two drivers, and there's a lot of sense as to why Hudson O'Neal is into the car. But in the moment when I heard the news with all the messages, as we're still getting them pouring in as we speak here, I restrained myself from taking in any alcoholic beverages. I got on the messenger with some people I know and trust, and these people are the ones who have told me what's happened and who did it and how it happened. Multiple sources at this point ever since yesterday's show. And first of all, we're trying to get some introductional sponsors here on the show, and we don't really have any. It says for the names you see at the top right of the screen. If you want to be on the top right of the screen, Venmo, PayPal in the description, as well as membership button on the channel. But I wanted to give like a little test run, and I was just randomly searching the internet, and of course I made the big joke. I thought it was a damn joke. At Muskegum before I fell on the track and busted my ass and maybe sustained injuries. I don't know about this now, but regardless, I was making the joke how Ricky Thornton Jr.'s t-shirt said they were from Martinsville, Indiana and not Chandler, Arizona. And I think that's a mistake in the PR department. I think it could be like the Arizona Cardinals in the dirt late model world. We had Danny Sams III on. He's trying to really promote that he's from Florida, even though he don't live there anymore, because he's trying to represent a state and to a community of potential fans. I don't know who's the PR for Ricky Thornton, but I really think about switching back to AZ. But regardless, a lot of promotional aspect in that. I was trying to think of what would be a cool sponsor that's been around from the Arizona, from the Ricky Thornton days, and I brought it up. So In a fantasy land, once again, this is all labeled a comedy show here. This is all labeled a comedy. I thought of one of the old school sponsors that are could be a presenting sponsor, of the show. Let me revert. We would come in here and be like, by the way, I guess Joe Rogan does come on here, and how he does it, he's into the show, and then he brings it up. You just get an AG1 commercial. So, the one business I thought was really cool from Ricky Thornton Jr.'s background to mention and talk about is this really cool logo, Certified Inspection Services Co., Inc. Of course, you've seen him on Ricky Thornton Jr.'s fire suits and race cars forever now. That's kind of like that little toxic-looking logo with the Arizona state in there as well. And they are from Phoenix, Arizona. This is their LinkedIn profile. They are a small family-owned business located in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona, next to Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. They offer a wide range of non-destructive testing, NTD, and chemical processing services for machined, welded, brazened, and fabricated components from the aerospace, aircraft, defense, automotive, and medical industries. Originally established in 1971, we have been in business for over 50 years. With our 5 decades of experience, we have become one of the most trusted names in NTD in Arizona and beyond. We have long-standing customer relationships with some of the biggest names in aerospace. We maintain a full staff of trained and certified Level 2 and Level 3 inspectors trained in accordance with the requirements of NAS 410. Hey, 410 sprinklers. I like this guy already. Our staff has over, they put 200 years of combined experience in NTD. So anyways, this is a little test process of if you want to jump on the show, let me know. I was close to the AG1. Back on the serious subjects, however, I went to this Randy from Zanesville birthday. Basically, long drive on the phone, figuring things out. What's going on and how'd this happen? What's going on? What's the more detail? What's the more to the story? What's happening next? Obviously, and I said this on the show, I said, when I was in my drunken rage the other night, whoever is taking over this ride from Ricky Thornton Jr. is public enemy number one. And before we get into facts and details of the whole entire situation here, and to add to that, if it was Hudson O'Neal, as everybody was speculating and saying to everybody, it's one thing for and obviously we treat these driver, car owner, sponsor, people type of relationships as relationships like we experience in everyday life. It would be easy to, place blame on the car owner for doing Ricky dirty in the situation. For instance, if he was just to switch to some other driver that you never heard of or didn't know about, it would be like if you're in a relationship with somebody and they get rid of you and they go to some new guy that nobody ever knew. And there was no ever previous relationship with the girl and this person. But if you're with a girl or guy, or you're with a guy, we're being fair here, air that out, air that snatch out, I guess we could say it like that. But if you're with a guy or a girl and they break up with you and then they get back with the ex that they dogged and trashed or didn't like or whatever, or got with you and was so much better with, then that is like, okay, you have some responsibility, but obviously in being an ex, they are aware of your partnership. And for that partnership to even get close to being obtainable, there had to be some discussion on the backside between both parties who are aware of your presence. It wasn't a new person. So in that aspect, it's hard to just place all this hate on the car owner for switching a driver. So not only if you were this new person who broke up with the greatest of all time or recent time in Ricky Thornton Jr., I mean, broke records last year, destroying everyone this year, just put 12 seconds, had JD crying and Mike Marlar crying at Lernerville just a few weeks ago about how much you destroyed him on the racetrack. When that is left for anyone else, that is going to become public enemy or a hated individual. But when you go back to the X in front on this grand stage of the motorsports world, oh my God, what are you that X just became the most hated man in motorsports, and it happens to be Hudson O'Neal, who is traditionally the baby face. And this is potentially, we have these characters in this motorsports domain, and most of the time they're introduced as a certain entity or certain subject, and they stay a certain entity and they stay a certain subject. What I mean by that is they come in and they are the baby face, or they are the nice guy, or they are the country bumpkin, or they are the asshole, or they are the douchebag, or they are the egotistical freak, or they just are this when you get, because they seem to be halfway who they are. They come up and they get introduced, and how they act is who they are from day one, and they stay that way. And that's how it somewhat happens in reality of all regular sports. A personality of a player of a game, their personality and who they are usually stays consistent throughout their entire career. There's no reason for them to change, especially if they're in success. But for instance, and this is what I'm saying, this could be like the biggest ever transition of a character, because the only real entertainment industry where a person is a baby face, for instance, the good guy that cheers everyone likes, turns to a heel, to a hated individual, is like professional wrestling, like WWE or something. And it's not always successful, but that's kind of one of the only sports or entertainment genres you see a switch of a character mode. And then this was like, they tried to make The Rock the bad guy. This was like, that he went off to Hollywood or whatever. This was old school stuff, but this was like coming out from under the stage and like, freaking just chair smacking the guy that everyone loves that's winning. And then like the girl runs out and helped them do it, and they run away. Those two people just became hated by everyone just because of what it looks like. And I don't know if we've seen a baby face, like it's already perceived as you go look at, we're about to read some comments, read some, a post by SSI Motorsports. But we've never seen in motorsports, or maybe even sports in general, such a switch of what people view a guy as now. With this Hudson O'Neal taking the RTJ ride in the perception, the SSI Motorsports, obviously, he's making the decision. He should be taking the blame for leaving to somebody else, but it wasn't to somebody new. It was to the ex. So it's bad. It's not good. It's not a good perception, and it's not good. It's not good to see this display for Hudson O'Neal's future. That is, because I'm fearful. I think this could be the first time you might need some kind of, halfway security around. Don't bring the t-shirt trailer out, guys. Ricky Thornton Jr. had his trailer hitch messed with at Muskegon for no unapparent reason. What could happen to the Hudson O'Neal trailers at this point? What's the, we just heard about Logan Wagner, after his incident with Danny Dietrich, where Danny Dietrich, for some reason, is the police of PA. Anytime you run him dirty, he'll just run you over and destroy your stuff. And they just get away with it. It's because we don't have no governmental bodies in motorsports, you know. And apparently Logan Wagner had some issues where his family was being cussed at and yelled at after he won Saturday or something like that. I'm not sure about the whole entire details. I saw a comment about it earlier. But it's like, that was little. That pales a comparison to this. And you're in Iowa this week. You're in modified country. You know, Iowa with 34 Raceway Thursday night. You know, that's Iowa, right? This is like betraying Scott Bloomquist and going to the heart of Tennessee or something. I don't understand. This is behind enemy lines. This has happened now, guys. So, and then you're going to be going to Tri-City and Lucas Oil. Okay, you're a little safe. Then you go to Eagle and Shelby County. Shelby County. I don't know if security is needed. There needs to be some kind of protection. This could get bad, guys. We can't control. These dirt track fans can be wild and rowdy. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of pissed off people in the state of Iowa where Ricky Thornton put a truck on his flatbed and drove to and became the Ricky Thornton Jr. you know today. Raced his way from the bottom. He started from the bottom. Now he's here. And now you did this. And now you did this. And we would, you know, I made my video earlier today on how people need to address stuff. And we're going to read what Todd Burns had to say today. Still very vague. There is no blanket reasoning to what was said here. I mean, I guess we could say that right now or read that right now. This was the post on SSI Motorsports. Obviously, the Dirt on Dirt news being shared around. And did they purposely put this little smirk of evil look for Hudson on this? This is why this could be all about it. It is all happening around Lucas Oil. All the drama did happen around, previous to Lincoln Speedway, Dirt on Dirt, Flow Racing, all this is happening around Flow. Is WWE playing out in front of us and we don't even know? This is all just strings being pulled left and right. It's like politics. The rulers are in the background. But what's been posted, SSI Motorsports regretfully parts ways with Ricky Thornton Jr. effective Sunday, July 7th. This was posted 3 hours ago. This was not something we wanted or envisioned occurring. Now listen to how vague this is. We had been looking forward to the rest of the year and working toward a championship with Ricky at the wheel. Over the past 2 years, the racing has been amazing, and we have been very proud of our team. No team wishes to be split apart in the middle of the season, especially a winning season. As a business owner and team owner, I have to make tough decisions. Since becoming a team owner, this was the hardest decision I have made. We do wish Ricky the best in whichever series he decides to run. And then we're pleased to have Hudson O'Neal, and that nobody's at this point, everybody just reads that. And this is what I was trying to say. You got to give these fans and these people who are the lifeline and worker class who support this entire industry some kind of reasoning, or they're just going to keep on running. We're about to get into what they all think. Look at this, guys. Oh, it's getting better. Oh, this is what happens when you play vague. So if we dissect this paragraph, no reason to leave, or this is what we were looking forward to. But then all of a sudden, tough decision. But we're going to keep racing. So, okay. It's just very vague. And then some people will say, no reason, no business, or nobody should know. Actually, somebody put this on the video I put out earlier today. I had this set aside. I was talking about in the real world, there's like people and classism and ruling classes in the motorsports industry. And this person said, well, in the real world, that is how it works. The ones with the money rule. SSR car will still win. There's lots of good drivers. Then the teams and blah, blah, blah. He can't even write a sentence. This is the fan base that needs security, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody said, I agree with you, although I appreciate Chaz's passion. It does not reflect reality. I live in Central PA and have followed sprint car racing since the mid-'80s. Silly season does not have a season, and many of the changes don't appear to make sense at the time. The bottom line is that many of the owners of dirt track racing teams are self-made. Many of those who are self-made are so because they don't have a choice. They are so headstrong that they cannot take direction from anyone else, including bosses and owners. They most certainly don't care about what fans and media think, speak, and write. And that is true, and it's unfortunate. But I'm put down here my simple point or response to that, and this is what we all maybe need to realize, is he is simply making the point that this isn't a sport or a league. It is a business with close to no accountability, regulation, and or governing, which is why I love the Australia situation so much more, because it made people act and conduct things and businesses in ways in a certain way. I mean, people will say, don't NASCAR up my dirt track racing, but at least over there, the top performer, the top driver ain't just dropped and your whole entire product is just scrambled like some eggs. And it's unfortunately true that this example that we just got with this SSI Motorsports scenario with Hudson O'Neal and Ricky Thornton Jr. is somewhat proof that this is not a professional level of business. This is not how professionalism acts. This is how dictatorships act. This is how authoritarianism acts. This is how a lot of bad far extreme examples operate, where people can just be, bam, sliced out without facing some kind of, retribution for the actions and the safety of everyone within the community. These things can't just happen in professional examples. It don't just happen that way. This is why a lot of people call dirt track racing amateur. This is, as much as I'd love to defend dirt track racing for the product on the racetrack and what it could do, situations like this and other styles of situations, trust me, outside of just putting drivers in and out of cars, give all the rest of the world all the ammunition they need to say, see, these are just a bunch of rednecks driving in circles. These are just a bunch of amateurs. The way it operates is amateur-y, if that's a damn word. So this is an unfortunate situation. We're going to get some callers in here. We're not going to go too long. We're just to the 30-minute mark. We'll do 30 minutes of talking and 30 minutes of calling and chatting if you don't want to give a call. As far as my opinion on Hudson O'Neal taking the ride, like I said, my personal opinion is it's hard to place blame anywhere. I'm not sure that Hudson O'Neal deserves to be hated by as many people that might hate him. There's a lot of people who made decisions in this. There is a lot of people who played a factor in this, certified or not. So it's an interesting situation, but it's an unfortunate one for the sport, would be my point. For the sport. This doesn't represent to the world professionalism. This doesn't represent how successful things operate. When your superstar number one driver in the world can just be picked up and dropped and flopped somewhere else in one day, you don't have anything worth investing in. And the dirt track world needs investors. Maybe you got a show. Let's just start calling it WWE if this is the norm. We have us a really good drama-filled show here that's so great and grand. Just throw the Christians out to the damn lions. Just let them go nuts. Slice them and dice them. That's what just happened here in a metaphorical way. Let the clowns just, make them laugh. It's just so entertaining. So entertaining. But regardless, let's see what the chat is doing here. I'm sure y'all are just in here blowing things up. It should be interesting to see what the chat is saying. Hold on here. It looks like we do have some people chiming in just a little bit. We're getting your chat up there. Sorry, we rushed back from across the pond. Looks like Thomas Johnson said, check the text message I sent you. Update info on RTJ. So we're trying to get into that updated info with RTJ. We will check your text. We'll see if it's anything different there, Travis Johnson. No. Okay, so let me address that, actually. Let me address this quote or lie. This is a lie, Travis Johnson. So this post, this is a lie. This is a lie, and there's a lot of lies going on out there right now. This text that was posted by that shitty-ass page, maybe they got it from a reliable source, but my sources are way more reliable than you. I'll call Kyle Larson and put him on speakerphone if I need to, but it ain't Kyle. They told me. But regardless, this post everyone saw and thought was so damn serious. This is not serious. This post of a text message screenshot, I could have made this on Photoshop. Todd been funding the 71 team that Hudson O'Neal had been driving. Fact, okay. Wanted to make a 2-car team official and share note. Nope. The typo's full of shit. Notebook. Share notebook. Ricky didn't want that, and Todd said, I'm writing the checks. If I want it, we're doing it. Ricky said, I'm not sharing info, and Todd fired him. This is a lie. Okay? This text message with your updates is a lie. This did not happen. This is not why what's happening right now is happening. This is bullshit. This is what you call clickbait, because I saw that post have a lot of interactions. And I unfortunately learned how much monetary gain you can get on clickbait. Heck, my 1.7 million video with, Tyler Carpenter, it's made like $4 because I don't have ads on Reels because Facebook screwed me 3 years ago by taking 20,000 followers away from me. So I've had to restart over here. But post engagement, you do make some money. So this post engagement for this page, they probably made some money by getting you dumbass fish to bite that lure. But I'll sit here and tell you, this is a lie. In my opinion, this is a lie. How about that? But my sources, who are, like I said, I ain't putting anybody on speakerphone. That's 100% lie. This message on Facebook that y'all been seeing spread around about the 2-car team and writing the checks and sharing notebooks is a lie. Complete lie. Hopefully y'all understand that is a lie. Regardless, 11 p.m. start with the call in, please. Hold on, we do want to give in to a little RTJ update. I do believe we have a pretty reliable source on where RTJ is going. And I call these hard rumors where I have a really good hunch and some very reliable sources telling me this is happening. But my reliable source is telling me that RTJ is going to be teaming up in the 20 car with Owens at Kohler Motorsports. Obviously, they got another car there. I don't know if they're going to be split in 3. I don't know all the details, nitty gritty. I just know from some very reliable sources that RTJ is going to be sliding into a Kohler Motorsports ride here very soon. Obviously, Longhorn chassis, good equipment. Jimmy Owens has been doing better this year than he had been doing. That's a pretty cool combination, Jimmy Owens and RTJ. I know I was talking about potentially Cooney Motorsports being a slot and the powerhouse of Modified World Ryan Gustin and the powerhouse of Modified World Ricky Thornton Jr. coming together. But for those who remember correctly, Jimmy Owens used to be a Ryan Gustin. He was back there racing the Wayne Brookses and the Mike Marlars. You know, Jimmy Owens and Mike Marlar somewhat came up at the same time period in modifieds. Wayne Brooks, for those who don't know, Larry Shaw, the unidentified flying object. Boy, you didn't know how to modify, get around a racetrack until you saw that one go. But you may not catch it. Once again, UFO. But that's what I'm hearing. Anyways, it seems like y'all want to get to the call-ins. We will get... it says Longhorn at Kohler. Okay, there you go. Jimmy is in a rocket. Fine. RTJ going to Trone 39. No. I said nothing about Brandon Shepherd going back to the Rocket 1 next year. What are you talking about? That's not happening. RTJ to Kohler Motorsports, Brandon Shepherd to the Rocket 1 next year. Not going to happen. Never said that. That's not certified. What's the sponsor of the show again? Certified, or the fake sponsor, Certified Inspection Service Co. of Phoenix, Arizona. That's our certified situation. It's not happening. Oh God, I'm good. People watching who know a lot of stuff right now, people watching who know, are laughing. Anybody who put laugh out loud in the comments with some of the stuff I've been saying here recently, y'all are the true winners of the situation. I'm telling you. All right, call-ins. Let's do it. Let's hear what you got to say. 515-298-7691, my ninja. Let's hear it, my ninja. Where is it at? Let's hear what you got to say. What do you think? If you want to call in, call me a dumbass or whatever. You want to call in and, say, I hate that Huddy's in the car. It's disgusting. I hate that guy. If that's what you want to say, then do it. That's all I'm saying, guys. But that is the number on the screen. If you want to call into the show, 51529. Oh, my God. We got one already. We got a hooker, liner, and a sinker. Hello. It is. We had like 5 missed calls in 1 second. What's going on? What's that? Sorry, we had you muted. We got you unmuted now. What's up?
So you think Ricky's going to Kohler Motorsports?
That's what a lot of reliable sources have been telling me. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
It is awesome. It would have sucked if he couldn't have found something, because there isn't too many options out there, as far as performing teams.
No doubt.
So.
No doubt. But, yeah, I think you're probably right on Hudson. There's a lot of people that hate him, don't there, right now?
He is the most hated man in motorsports, and I can't believe they're about to roll up into the modified Midwest country where Thornton's from. This is not a safe situation for his hauler, his family, T-shirt trailers, any of that.
No doubt.
I don't know if they know what they did. I don't know if they know.
No, because Hudson and Ricky somewhat got along, they weren't best buds, but I think it's personally shitty on Hudson's end too, he could have said, hey, let's give him a little time,
Right, or prequeled, or told him, hey, here's what's being talked about, be ready.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree 100%. That's what pisses me off. I think the most is just the dumping him,
Right. Oh, and it was like I said, it was like the ex-boyfriend or girlfriend planning with your relationship partner to, let's get ready to dump him and not tell him what's happening. It's one of those deals.
Yep. Well, good talking to you, buddy.
All righty.
Have a good one.
Well, hey, hold on. What was your name? Where are you from?
My name's John from Northeast Iowa.
Oh, no. You're getting ready for it.
Yep, we're going.
Oh, my. USA Nationals. How's that going to look? Oh, my.
We gotta see the RTJ and see how they mesh,
The flow, could this be a flow race in WWE script, man? You couldn't do it any better.
I don't know.
Look at the rating. I bet you the ratings for Lincoln's race last night were probably one of the highest they've ever had all year.
Yeah, I know a lot of the comments, the haters like, oh yeah, he didn't do her the fuck. Well, I'm like, fuck, dude, he didn't get in the car. He didn't see the car till fucking noon in his life. I think he did all right.
Yeah, 20th to 7th was very impressive. If he would have went 20th to like 12th,
I think if there would have been one caution, I think if there would have been a caution, not saying he was going to win, but he was the fastest car on the track for the last 5 laps.
Yeah, and for it to be no cautions and to get that far up, extremely impressive.
I think there was one caution, but it was early. But yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
But, all right, buddy, we'll talk again.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye. For those calling when I'm on the line, I'm going to start blocking y'all's numbers. So wait till the call's over, you douchers. Yeah. So 417 or 937, we almost blocked your number. Just heads up for everybody else. If you hear us on the phone, don't just keep calling over and over. I'm going to block your number. Anyways, you didn't have that fair warning. What's going on? What's your name? Where are you from?
Dan calling from Ohio. How you doing, man?
Danny?
Hey, yeah, Dan from Tip City, Ohio.
Okay.
About half hour from Eldora.
So you're on the other side of this. You may be a Hudson fan.
Well, not really. Well, I don't really care. I mean, I don't dislike him, and I don't really dislike, any of the drivers. But the problem is this sport has gotten so expensive. The spending has gotten out of control. And these car owners put a lot of money up, and they can do what they want. And, if that guy wants to put Hudson in his car because that's a local car, then I'm all for it. I mean, these guys, the money is destroying the sport. And let's face it, these races have been boring in late models. The sprint cars have been where it's at this year.
Right, but it's not like they're going to, it doesn't say anything in this that they're going to, it says we had been looking forward to running the rest of the year. So, and it looks like they're set to be at the 34 race, the Tri-City race, the Lucas Oil race. So they're not like backing their schedule down. And I actually heard in a counterintuitive way to what you're saying, and I'm not personally saying this is true. This is what people were messaging me, and you saw this in the comment section, that the car, and we hear about this a lot in the racing world, how some people will have cars or tracks. All right, we're going to ban that number. Keep calling while I'm on the phone. Oh, okay. All right. I guess we're going to have to put them out. Hold on just a second. We're getting rid of 717. You're never calling again. But regardless, no, it's not going to stop. I'll try to just go over it. Mute it. There we go. I did hear, or people were saying, they were speculating. Once again, when you don't give no reasons or rhymes, this is where people speculate to go to the nth degree. And the big speculation on this situation from a couple people that's downright dirty, probably not true, but you hear about it when people get cars or they have a sponsor or well, not a sponsor, when they get on, when they get a car together or they get a track. We hear it with the track racing industry, that if it's somewhat of a report a loss situation. And some people were speculating that since Ricky Thornton Jr. had been doing so good, that the team couldn't report, or the owner of the team couldn't report as much of a loss in a business element. And that's why they got rid of Ricky Thornton Jr., because he was doing too good, and they couldn't report as much of a loss because of the success and the money coming in.
Yeah, because, that's probably one of the rarities of a team that probably actually made money, him and Davenport. But the rest of these teams, they ain't making any money.
And they say that that's one of the reasons. I mean, the people, they speculate all the time that's why these rich people have these race cars is something to report that. And this is how rich people do this. This is what's wrong with the tax industry. We all think about how does Donald Trump's millionaires and billionaires not pay $1 in taxes? Well, $50,000 to $200,000, $300,000 people pay almost half their wages. And what they do is they get some type of business and either, suck at it, liquidate it, this, that, and the other to show a loss and report that loss. And that's the loss to the tax department. And so they're under. They don't have to pay. It's not the same. There's multiple ways to do it, but this was a speculation by the fan base because of the lack of reasoning, So
does Hudson have big sponsorship that he's bringing to that team? Is there sponsors that follow him that maybe Ricky doesn't have? I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but
everyone's
like
trying
Hudson
to. That's why people are
Rockville.
saying that. Everyone's trying to wrap their head around it. That's why they're saying this to begin with.
But yeah, I mean, the money's got to be drawn in, and these top heavy purses don't help much either. I mean, you got all these guys showing up to race, and they're getting $3, $4, $5 grand. A lot of guys won't even race for for less than 10 grand. And, you know, kind of the charm back when you used to go to Eldora, you know, you'd see somewhat of a local, a John Lawhorn or a Matt Miller, you know, run, even win. Steve Casebolt, they've won big races there. And today the odds of a, you know, local guy, it's almost impossible, other than maybe a Josh Rice down there at Florence. You know, you just don't see local guys, you know. And, you know, what's your thought on this, since we're kind of talking, but the racing has been boring. Is it the Longhorns are just boring to watch race in open air? Is that, you know, what, because the racing was a little more exciting on the smaller tracks. It's been boring at big tracks for a while, but, you know, on these smaller tracks, it's even gotten boring. And they get out front, they run one or two lines. And, you know, back in the day, you know, you had Rockets and Masterbuilts and all these other cars. They were running all over the place, and Rayburns. And now it's, you know, everybody's running the same exact car. It's almost like, you know, NASCAR going to the car of tomorrow.
Right. First of all, I want to address this comment by the Circus Freak. That post that we saw on Facebook, once again, and Travis Johnson tried to show me, that was going around of Todd wanted a 2-car team and shared notes, and Ricky said no. Todd and Ricky, all this crap. That screenshot is a lie, based on the sources I have that are very reliable and connected and are telling me plenty of things. That text is a lie. That never happened. That's not true. Once again, more speculation outside of potential, you know, the race team making too much money and because he couldn't write it off good enough come tax season because it would have showed a profit. Outside of extreme conspiracies like that conspiracy theory as well, Circus Freak, is a conspiracy theory that falls flat on its ass when faced with the facts of the situation. That never happened. That's not what happened. I know it's a popular one on Facebook right now, but if I was Todd or Ricky, I would potentially look at that page and try to do something to that page. That does something like that. That's jeopardizing both people's reputation. Even you know, I mean, obviously you gotta let some of these people go crazy because once again, this is all y'all's fault, or one of the other's fault. Just tell what it really was to the masses, even if it's small and minuscule, and they can't run with shit like this. But that one, the Circus Freak one, is a lie. I'm pretty sure the tax deal is a lie too. I'm just saying this is what people are saying when people bring up, oh well, the team might have been, you know, not making enough money. There's a theory out there right now that they made too much money. So I'm just saying this one that is popular right now is false. Y'all, and y'all can believe it. It's all a conspiracy theory. It's all a conspiracy theory. It's fine. As far as the racing becoming such a ordeal, as far as not being entertaining, I would say in a way that and I hate to say this, but the late model fan base has become, y'all have become spoiled, to be honest with you. I watched a lot of sprint car racing to start the year and was indulged in sprint car racing. I was in Australia. It's mainly a sprint car country, although Kai Blight and Joel Chalmers are doing great over here. Two great late model racers of this of that country that are over here doing great things. But the sprint car racing was okay. High Limit had some decent quarter-mile racing action. But, dude, when I turn on a late mile race or go to a late mile race, it's just instantly so much damn better. I hate to say it because I'm a sprint car guy. The actual racing, the door-to-door, the racing that's happening, maybe Ricky Thornton's out by 12 seconds, but there's always something happening. There's always somebody coming through the field. There's someone passing. I feel like the late model fan base, maybe y'all had, and I would say you're right, probably 3-ish years ago, 2 years ago, maybe even, you had some, you know, good racing, no matter if it was a big track or a short track. And like you said, last night's race at Lincoln really wasn't that impressive on a short track, but you had a great finish at Deer Creek over the weekend. You know, it wasn't horrible. I do think tracks play a big factor on how entertaining a race is, but then also if you're worried and focused about who's winning in the lead, when you got Ricky Thornton Jr. out there, which this is going to mix it up. I think Lucas Oil's about to become way more entertaining because you lost such a lethal combination of SSI and RTJ. So now you got a car who is somewhat making the racing boring in a sense. I mean, I was at Muskegum. Donnie Moran dominated the race, but there were some challenges. There were some things. There was Tyler Carpenter. There was racing happening. Max Blair was working the bottom extremely well. I think tracks play a big factor, but now you remove RTJ and SSI Motorsports from dominating factors, and now I think Lucas Oil is going to change up just a little bit. So, I think the problem has been is you got these guys who hit on something and dominate. I mean, how boring has Eldora been when Davenport leads every single lap, and you can just tell, even if he starts sixth, you can tell by lap 5 or 10 that he's just going to dominate, and it's already boring, and you got 90 laps to go.
Well, you're right, and that's what kind of I rate my racing experience, because let's face it, Eldora rarely races late models. In fact, after the Dream, they don't even race a late model there till September. The track sets dormant most of the season. So, you look forward to a couple big races there, since that's my local track. And the racing isn't really any good unless you're hitting up a World of Outlaws or the High Limit show's coming up next week. But
4 Crown's pretty entertaining. 4 Crown's pretty entertaining, but
yeah, 4 Crown's good. But at the Dream, Davenport had a 2.5 second lead going into turn 2. I mean, it's not even fun to watch. People were actually folding up their chairs 5 laps in, going, "Well, there's no reason to stay." And it's like, and let's face it, I don't know if it was rumors or what, but a few years ago, Davenport team spent over $1 million on engineers. Well, it paid off, but it didn't pay off for the fans. But they got their money back. They won that $1 million race. But
I believe that crew chief was Burrows, and that's the same Burrows that went to SSI with Ricky, right?
I believe it is, yeah.
And he is staying, apparently. Yeah. He is going to stay with Hudson O'Neal. But I still say Ricky Thornton Jr. is a Kyle Larson-esque talent, personally. So,
well, yeah, and have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought that maybe they were frustrated with his extracurricular racing and wanted him to focus more on just the late models? And I don't have a problem with it. But
I don't think that, because a lot of people were saying that the reason Ricky took the ride from Hudson is because Hudson wouldn't come to the race shop, although that could be a rumor in itself, but he wouldn't work on the cars, where Ricky's somewhat of a driver crew chief, always has been. That's one of the respectable things about him, in my opinion, is, all the success he had in modifieds and stock cars and coming up through the ranks the right way, he had to do as a driver crew chief. So I think maybe even Thornton potentially made Burrows better in a sense as well.
Oh,
and I think that Thornton in the shop being dedicated to the car, Thornton wasn't underperforming. So if he was underperforming and, he's running a micro on a Tuesday, then yeah, you got a problem. But he just put 12 seconds on him at fucking Lernerville. You got Marlar and Davenport crying. So I don't see that being a potential.
And Ricky paid his dues. I mean, man, the dude really paid his dues, and nothing was handed ever to him. He earned where he's at right now.
No, and somebody wanted me to argue today with him or wanted me to give him, my opinion, because apparently the dude's wife and his son argues all the time on who's better, Bobby Pierce or Ricky Thornton Jr. And I simply say, Bobby Pierce, I believe, was in his daddy's late models at 12 years old. I don't know. Ricky Thornton Jr. had to throw a damn modify on a flatbed at like 22 and drive to Iowa to make it. It's a whole, and to race and win super nationals in every event he got into to get where he's at. So as far as who's better right now, it's not really an argument, but where they come from, it's a whole nother, one's a spoon to a fucking a piece of wood.
Right. And the other thing, the thing is with Ricky, Pierce, and I'll even throw Hudson in there, and sometimes McCready, it doesn't matter how their car is. They're going to race their butt off, and they're going to try to get to the front, where a lot of guys are like, well, I just don't have a car. But,
right.
When you got those 4 guys, they're going to give you a show. And that's really what it's all about, is that, it doesn't matter what the track is, what the car is. they're going to get the most out of their car. Josh Rice does the same thing, but yeah, he doesn't have the money in that car, and you can usually tell that car isn't going to hold 100 laps at Eldora. But I mean, you put him in a quality ride, that guy probably could impress a lot of people.
Yeah, and Bobby Pierce has that killer instinct in him. I remember it was, I think it was 2 years ago, not this year, but the last year, Bobby Pierce versus Larson, and Larson had the better car, and Bobby Pierce said that, and he said his car was bad here, bad there, but he found a way, changed his lineup, changed how he was driving, and tracked down Kyle Larson and beat him. And like you said, a lot of guys are out there in that car by lap 3 or 4. They see a guy get a half car length off the corner here, entering the corner there. They give up. Like you said, they just say, oh, well, the car ain't mine tonight, and they ride around there the rest of the race. The real winners, the Bobby Pierces, the Ricky Thorntons, the ones you're naming off there, that's not how they think. That's not how winners think. That's not how champions think. That's how losers and mid-packers think. And that's usually where you find them.
Right. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and have a great night, buddy.
You as well.
All right, thanks, man. Bye-bye.
All righty. The phone line is open, ladies and gentlemen. The phone line is open. We've had a Northeast Iowa person. We've had I should have recognized, okay, Jason Durham. That's correct, with Davenport. My bad. Jason Durham. Oh, no. Oh, they're calling and hanging up now. We answered and they hung up. Sorry about that. So it was Durham. Thought Burroughs was mixed in there somewhere. Let's see here. The number is on the screen. Should we call back? This 417's tried calling over and over and over. And finally getting through, I think, here. 417, you are on the line. What's your name? Where are you from?
No, I'm from Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, no. So you're going to be, I guess you're going to be watching all this in person over the weekend.
Yeah, I actually think I should probably go to Lucas and watch it. It'll be a good time. Hopefully JD doesn't just walk the dog once again.
Well, we will see. What did you want to talk about?
This whole deal's just crazy to me. It's just absolutely wild. I'm an RTJ fan and have been for a really long time. One of my buddies is cousins with him, and I actually saw him for the first time in Springfield, I think 2016, for the USMTS race, and I knew then. But I met him, super nice guy. It's wild to me, I guess, in all this, that Huddy somehow made his way back in, and there's no way that money isn't involved, right? But just how it flipped this whole game upside down and on its head.
Well, but you also got to think of this aspect. A lot of these car owners, and I hate to say this, it's not everybody, but a lot of these car owners are rich fans. Okay?
For sure.
A lot of these car owners, track owners, big sponsors, they're just rich fans. And you could have a situation here potentially where Todd Burns is just a bigger Hudson O'Neal fan than Ricky Thornton Jr.
And that's very, very possible for sure.
Honestly.
It is, but it just, in the whole aspect of it, like I saw a post from Shay, Ricky's wife, the other day, and that Todd and Vicky Burns had urged them to buy a house and to enroll their kids in school there, and had made long-term plans and for it to just be flipped over. And in fact, in all the statements Todd Burns has said, it's not going the direction they want. What's he have to win, the 50-50? I mean, dude's won everything. Like, it's just crazy to me, man. What else does a guy want other than to lose races?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know in the end what Huddy brings to the table other than money that Ricky didn't.
Right. Well, I mean, and who knows if that's the truth? Who knows if Huddy brought money? Maybe, once again, he could just be a bigger Huddy fan.
And that's the truth, but what would make a guy just leave something working so well. That's ultimately what we're trying to figure out, right?
Right. It could be something. Once again, you deal with extremely rich people. They're used to owning businesses. They're used to telling people what they want to say. They're used to those people telling them what they want to hear, or you're fired. They're used to just being the king dog of everything. So I mean, it could be their egos are so huge that it could be something that Ricky did that is so minuscule potentially, that is so small to the average person, that it would just come across as an excuse.
So
I'm not saying what it is, but what it is so damn small, it comes across as he's just a Hudson O'Neal fan, personally.
Yes. So thing number one I want to bring up is you said it as well. It's a business, right? So
right.
What's a business's goal? To make money, right?
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to go up and down these roads to make these races. To go from a Lucas show to a Flow show to an XR show. I mean, we've all been watching it on TV the last however many nights. Tonight was the first night in forever we haven't had late model racing between Hell Tour, XR, Flow, Lucas, whatever. It costs a lot of money. But RTJ is making the most, I do believe, at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean,
yeah.
JD won some crown jewels, but
and that's where the conspiracy theory of the car was making too much money is out there.
I mean, tax write-offs are a real thing. But my second thing is I don't know this to be factual, but I think the guy that was on before me is actually maybe onto something with the extracurricular racing.
I just don't see it.
Maybe
another excuse to put Huddy back in there. That's all that would be.
And you know what, brother? I 110% agree with you. It probably is. I see it as a guy sharpening himself, racing these different circumstances and conditions to make himself better at racing. I mean, that's the goal. That's what Larson does.
Right.
So like you said, it just has to be another excuse to get him out of that car. But it still just, end of the day, is so perplexing to everybody,
It kills the professionalism of the sport overall.
It does. And, I'm in quite a few dirt group chats. But, there's a whole bunch of people speculating that he was going to go to Rocket One, and there was, no way that happened. But I'm saying just this stuff has put the whole world on its head. People are thinking Mark Richards is just going to get rid of T-Mac, which is absolutely false. You know what I mean? As far as I would think.
Right.
But,
not in the middle of the season.
No. Yeah, I wouldn't think that RTJ would necessarily want to go to a Rocket, never running one, and I wouldn't want to think Longhorn would want to lose RTJ winning all these races for him.
Right. Well, he's apparently going to that Kohler car, so.
Which will be badass. I hope him and Owens really get that ball rolling. That would be really, really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Being from here, I saw Owens dominate Lucas for forever, so let's get that going again.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Have a good one. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye. All right. All you people calling, freaking 20 missed calls. Let's see here. What's the chat saying? Oh, no. What are they saying? It's a hobby under the guise of business. In a way, yeah. We all know there's no return on investment in dirt late models. Some, you never know. Some, never know. Longhorn will win races even if RTJ went to Australia with the Chaz. That's funny. Wait, he's going to Kohler? Aren't they Longhorn? Apparently, he is going to Kohler. Jimmy Owens is running a Rocket, but there is a Longhorn faction to that motorsports stable, and that's where he's going. That's the hard rumor. Anyways, we got the next caller in. What's going on? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, my name is Gil DeMello. I'm over by Lernerville and Sharon Speedway.
Okay. What's going on? You got World of Outlaw late models coming there this week.
Yeah, yep. But hey, I got a theory, man. I just want to hit you with.
All right.
I heard through the grapevine, that Ricky Thornton's girl runs everything. Okay. So I was thinking maybe him and his girl are the family and a girl, because the kids are always around. You know, I see pictures when they're in the pits. The kids are always around, and I heard that the guy that runs that whole race team is a kind of like, you know, a older gentleman that's all about racing, you know. So I was thinking maybe that's something to do with, maybe got an argument with his wife, or, you know, because you can't take somebody like that racing your car winning and just get rid of him all of a sudden, right in the middle of two tours. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that's the case, but I could see how that would be a perceived notion. I could see how people would think that. If a guy's all about racing, because there's like you said, even the older gentlemen, there's a lot of older rich people in the sport. I'm not going to name names, but they don't even want women and kids in the pitting area. I've had, you know, private conversations where, you know, I'm talking to a team owner and the driver has their kids and family in the deal all night, and pull off to the side and, you know, they'll say, Chaz, I don't like that shit. No, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Man? And they'll go, women and your kid, look, you love a family man, you know, be a family man Monday through Friday, but when you enter that fucking pit gate and we're racing here on a Saturday night, get those fucking kids out of my fucking pit in there. You know, they'll just go. I hear what you're saying is real. I don't know if it applies here. I don't know if that, I don't think that applies to this scenario, but what you're saying is real. You don't think?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm a racer. I race, you know, I just race Penn Ohio Pro Stock, you know, but they're just like a late model, just ain't got 900 horsepower. I got like 600. We run Burt transmissions, and we're right around 3,000 pounds, and you know, and I've been racing all my life, just, you know, 6-cylinder back when they had him at Mercer. I'm running Sharon Speedway Pro Stocks. They're Penn Ohio Pro Stocks. I'm sure you heard of us.
Well, were y'all racing with the Outlaw sprint cars?
No, we're Pro Stock Street Stock, but they look like a late model. Sharon Speedway. Dave Blaney owns the track.
Right. Yeah. I was there at the Outlaw Sprint Car Show, and there was a street stock class.
Yeah. I seen you there. I was going to walk up and say something, and then you had a bunch of people around you, and looked like you're having a good time, and I just didn't want to walk up and butt in. But you know, I just got, you know, some theories. You know, I'm a racer. I'm down to earth guy. You know, I watch him, Lucas. I used to watch sprint cars constantly. That used to be the main thing, was the sprint cars.
But the late model racing is just too damn good.
Like you said, man, there's guys coming. That Clay Harris, you know, he's a gasser. You got that Josh Rice, he's a gasser. You know, Tim McCready, Davenport. I mean, you got a lot of good guys doing that shit, and they take a lot of chances too. And that's what racing's all about, man. You gotta push yourself. You know what I mean? You can't, like you was talking about, having a car that you go out there and it's, you know, it don't feel right. It's fucking pushing, and it wants to spin out, and, you know, it's just fucking all wrong. But you take a racer that'll fucking race that car, and he will race that car until, I don't care if they got bald tires, it's pushing like a dump truck. He's going to race the shit out of that car.
Yeah, late model fans are sort of spoiled. That's that, you know, so they don't know how good they got it most of the time as far as racing.
Yeah, but the reason I called, man, I just, you know, I heard that through the grapevine a few years ago. I'm a racer. I hear a lot of race shit, and I was just thinking, you know, maybe his girl had some, because I heard she's mouthy. You know, I don't know her. I don't dislike her. I'm not being mean or nothing like that, but it's just stuff I heard that she runs the show. So I'm thinking maybe that, you know, maybe him and her had words, and she said something, and it got back to him. And because, I mean, if you was their race owner, and it ain't about taxes, because they got more write-offs. I don't care how much money you make. You know, you could say you bought 4 cars that year, or buy 4 cars and not pay as much in taxes for it. But if you got a guy that's winning, something really bad had to happen. So I just want to, you know, I can't wait to find out. I watch you. I watch Dirt Tracker. You know, I got I got 200 friends on Facebook that are all racers, and I talk to, and, Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. I'm waiting to find out. But, hey, it's nice talking to you, man. You have yourself a good night. I'll be watching you and waiting to find out.
All righty.
Okay, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, his notion that car owners have issues with that is unfortunately true. I've heard of it, but I don't think that's the scenario here. From my understanding, I'll give a nugget. I'll give a clue. It has to do with the fire suit. And no, Safety Mike from Perth Motorplex, Australia, not the way you are thinking. Clue number 1. Y'all can be the detective. We look like a Dick Tracy here tonight. I guess Toby Keith too. All right, here we go. Has to do with the fire suit, guys. It's that small. That fucking small. No, she does not. Wait. I got to get that comment on the screen. She wears the fire suit of the house. No, that's not what it is. That's so funny, though. No, I think Ricky's amazing wife is a great person. I have never said anything negative. I don't think anything negative of her. If she is any kind of mouthy, it's hilarious to me. So I don't know what that notion even means. So numbers on the screen. I saw we had a few missed calls. 412 number. Should we call 412 back? Yeah. Jordan Mitchell just said it. I can't believe Jordan Mitchell's came to the good side after all these years. 20 years we've known Jordan Mitchell. He finally comes around and says, Shay is one of the nicest people you can meet. The truth is on the screen. That's what I would say. 515-298-7691. We will be wrapping it up here soon. Might be last caller. Should we call it last call? I think we should call last call. It is 12:50 a.m. And no, Randy from Zanesville is not going to call. He is passed out. He got all kinds of drunk at his birthday tonight. Last call. Hoker Trucking. That the hint? No, Hoker Trucking is not the hint. We have actually, in this show tonight, hold on, 318, give me just a second. You are going to be online. We have in this show literally told y'all, the smart humans will figure it out. The sheep will be confused. The human beings will not. We have literally told y'all what happened in this show. The clue is it's over a fire suit. The other clue is in this show. 100% in this show. Mentioned several times. Headlined in this show. So the clues are fire suit. That's the main clue, is the issue. And it's in the show. So I'm not saying shit. I'm just saying that. All right, caller, you're on the line. Hello.
What's going on, Chaz?
Oh, no. I recognize the voice. What's the name? Where are you from again?
Zach from Houghton, Louisiana.
Oh, no. It's Zach Clark. I recognize the voice. Oh, no.
Man, I just tuned in at the end, man. I caught like this last caller, and I pulled up YouTube, and I seen that you were live, so I clicked on it. I said, I'm about to call this dude and see what's popping tonight.
Oh, no. Well, Hudson O'Neal so this is Zach Clark, famous announcer from the Arklatex region of the country. We go back a decent amount of time. You have a podcast coming up. I guess I'll be on it soon. We might have to plug it tonight.
Yeah. We're gonna have you on there so we can iron a few things out. I think you're very misunderstood by a lot of people, and I kind of want to get a different side and maybe have a little bit more of an understanding. But go ahead.
Obviously, the big headline is Hudson O'Neal going to the SSI Motorsports car.
Right.
And in my opinion, publicly, he literally did go from the baby face, the love him everyone, the new deal, to the most hated man in motorsports. And they're taking this sumbitch into Iowa. First night out.
Yeah, it's 34 Raceway Thursday night with Lucas. I'll tell you what, man, I'll be honest with you, it's really unfair to Hudson. I understand a lot of people feel that Ricky was done wrong in this situation. But at the same time, Hudson's done nothing wrong as well. And let's be real, man. Hudson O'Neal is a super talented race car driver who is deserving of a great opportunity, although I do understand he had a great opportunity. He walked away from Rocket 1. It's not the other way around. Mark Richard didn't depart from him. Hudson walked away from that. And, you know, it was kind of the same thing here where Todd Burns says that he didn't see the vision that he had for the race team with Ricky the last couple of years. Well, Hudson O'Neal kind of took it into his own hands, you know, a couple months ago to say, hey, this isn't the vision I had for me and my racing career going forward, which is totally wild to really put into a cap and really think that, like, that's a possibility after you win the World 100 and the Lucas Oil Championship a year ago. So, yeah, that spun the dirt late model world on its head to kick off the year. And then you have this with Ricky, who, you know, obviously broke Scott Bloomquist's record last year. I mean, nobody could have seen this coming, right? But in a nutshell, it's not fair to Hudson because Hudson is a great racer. He's won 21 career Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series races. I understand Ricky won more than that in a single season a year ago. But Hudson's won the Show Me 100. He's won the World 100. He's won a championship. That dude is really, really talented. And you know, we talk about nepotism, sure, but Hudson has really earned it, man. Of course, he's the son of the legend Don O'Neal, Hall of Famer. But, you know, I think Hudson's on the right track to.
I mean,
you know,
Hudson O'Neal's really underperformed this year.
Well, he hadn't raced that much, sure.
I still wouldn't put Hudson O'Neal in the same category as Davenport or Ricky Thornton or Bobby Pierce, Marlar. I wouldn't.
Not right now, but if you watch this late model stuff, man, it's very cyclical. Like, I mean, you go back to 10 years ago, and Davenport had the run, you know, when he's been called Superman his whole career, but nobody really took it and ran with it until he had that run with Kevin and Leroy Rumley, you know, in 2015. When he won damn near every crown jewel and won the Lucas Oil title. He didn't even set out that year to run Lucas full time, but they caught so much fire that year. And that's exactly what's happened with Ricky for the last 2 years. They caught fire. Anthony Burroughs, I mean, let's don't forget, Anthony Burroughs was a crew chief for Davenport with Clint Boyer Racing. And, man, that was actually one of the bigger struggles of Jonathan Davenport's career. So even Anthony Burroughs, by all accounts, he's a good crew chief, but he's never had the success like he's had with Ricky Thornton Jr. I mean, it's been a lethal combination, and
Ricky's a driver crew chief, you know.
Man, let's be real about it. Ricky Thornton Jr. is a fucking badass race car driver. Like, I have watched him hop behind the wheel of a USMTS modified. He's won the King of America, which is, you know, the staple as far as USMTS. If you win at Deer Creek or you win at Humboldt Speedway on the USMTS calendar, you are doing something special. And I mean, he's done it. I mean, he would come and do it. He'd do it in a lethal chassis, right? And that's unorthodox. Typically, it'd be the Skyrocket,
wrenching the car.
Race cars. Yeah, he's just that good. He really is that good. And I mean, a lot of people are right, and a lot of people are rightfully upset because they're watching a guy right here in the prime of his career, you know, has earned every single bit of everything to where he is at. Ricky has earned it. I've seen your takes on it. You know, last week you dropped a video about, you know, Ricky is the I forgot the exact terms of how you built up.
The late model fender world.
He is. He may not be the most polished person. You know what I'm saying? He may not be the best.
That's because, you know, Kyle got money at a young age, you know. So
yeah. Well, if we're strictly talking about a talent behind the wheel of a race car, there's not anyone more talented than Ricky Thornton Jr. I mean, Tyler Courtney's talented on the sprint car side. I mean, Donnie Schatz was once super talented and young and prime of his career, right? But I mean, it's just it's amazing that this could happen right here in the prime of his career. But man, it's not over. Like the
only issue though is that obviously Hudson O'Neal would have had to know something, and he's the ex. So if your girlfriend breaks up with you and gets with someone new, okay, and you do it abruptly. But if your girlfriend breaks up with you and she goes to her ex, the ex is halfway responsible for that breakup.
Yeah.
And for the scheme.
Hudson's past ventures in 2019, and he was running great late model stuff with SSI. And that's been a little bit of time. I mean, I know 5 years isn't that long, but it is. Like, we see a lot of drivers change teams, in a 5-year period. You see drivers go and come away, or go and do different things in the sport. But Hudson's going to be fine in this SSI car. The main thing I hate the most about this situation is that Ricky pretty much has to go. Everything that he has built for himself behind the wheel of a dirt late model, he has to start all over with a new crew. You know, like, let's set his talent aside, Chaz. He is talented. We know that. But car and crew chief combination is so very important in today's technology-driven dirt racing world. I mean, as talented as Ricky is, you saw him go hop behind the wheel of Stevie Shepard's car. He was 20th to 7th in the main event.
With no
he didn't
cautions.
get off to a hot start, but nobody would expect him to do that. Like, you have a false expectation if you think that Ricky was going to go out. Listen, I know he's talented enough to know that if he did go out and win that race the other night at Lincoln, it's not far-fetched. You know, it's not too far out of the realm of a possibility of happening. But, like, I try to be a realist and think that it's more than likely not going to happen, but it could happen, right? But that's the point I'm making, is that these race cars are so technologically advanced now that it's hard even for Ricky Thornton Jr. to hop behind the wheel. And, like, Stevie Shepard's got nice equipment, but when you eliminate your crew chief, who you've been pounding wins down with for the last 2 years in the form of Anthony Burroughs, you know, I mean, you're basically having to start over from scratch, and that's what I hate the most for Ricky.
Well,
is
and
that,
the thing is, even though, you know, Davenport and Marlar were just complaining about 12 seconds at Lernerville that Thornton and them got something figured out, and they probably did have something figured out, and Ricky Thornton Jr. and Burroughs both know what that figure out is. You know, that's the problem now, is Ricky Thornton Jr. could take everything he knows to another car and be the exact situation as when he gets into this new ride. It's the same thing, but now there's a car on the track with the same thing. You know, that wasn't whatever this thing they figured out was, you know, not on the track competing against them. And now it is. You know, and who's going to go talk, and who's going to go spread that rumor now, and who's going to let other people know? You know, I've known Ricky Thornton for about 20-ish years. I'll give you an example. Ricky Thornton Jr. doesn't like this. So, very interesting story. I was doing the whole, me and Ricky Thornton Jr. and Kyle Larson, all these people, we used to race back in the day, R Factor. It's kind of how we all know each other, even Logan Seavey a little bit. Swindell, Chris Bell, everybody. And there was a story where I came home late from work, and I was supposed to run a league. Ricky Thornton Jr. was my teammate at the time. We didn't share setups in particular, but we kind of did. And my wheel broke. I went to go get on the game, and the wheel broke, and I was like, shit, I got like an old Microsoft Sidewinder in the garage somewhere, and I went digging and pulled it out, and I didn't even get to turn any laps, plugged the wheel up. And I was like, Ricky, I ain't no way I'm going to win this damn race. Just send me a setup. I just pulled a fucking wheel out of the garage. So he sent me the setup. I started like 15th in the A main trying to figure the wheel out. I drove up through the field, passed Ricky Thornton, won the race by 3 seconds. And after that, he said he was never going to give me a setup ever again. And he never did. He never gave me a setup ever again because he gave me what he has, and I beat him with it. And put him in his place because he knows I'm the shit. Anyways, no, there's a reason Kyle says I'm a good race car driver. But regardless,
hey, I smoked your ass on iRacing not too long ago.
Well,
just saying.
I was drunk. It was my first time. And I was in a pothead's
I was just giving you a hard time.
Regardless,
oh shit.
Hey, I went quick time. I believe I just jumped on and went quick time. But regardless, I think he doesn't like the fact more so than anything that there's another car on the track with what he's got. That's the big point.
Right, but hey, these kind of things are going to happen though. Whether Hudson's just giving that information, that's the constant grind of being a professional racing team. Whether you're a NASCAR or you're in sprint cars, it does even down on the local level, like racing factory stocks. Everybody's trying to catch up right now to Dalton Faulkner and Justin Whitehead around the Arklatex racing scene. We raced for $10,000 at Boot Hill Speedway in 2 weeks, and everybody's still chasing those two cars. Like Justin Whitehead's been 1A. And now Faulkner's 1B, right? Like they've been the guys that have been winning all the big money down here. And I know most of the people that are on this show right now listening probably aren't too familiar with the USRE factory stock racing, so we won't talk about that for too long. But the point is everybody's always chasing that little bit of extra something, and we've seen it. 2021, Brandon Overton got on that hot streak, Chaz. I mean, and he won all the races. You know, he won the World and the Dream in the same year.
In the Drew pool.
People, but people get on these streaks, and people, it gets streaky. I mean, And, and let's don't forget, like, Davenport is still the man to beat at Eldora. As good as Ricky has been the last couple of years, you go to Eldora, Davenport's still the guy to beat, and that's the place that pays the most money. So, there are 21 races, I think, paying $30,000 or more on the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series Tour this year. But, a lot of drivers, you gauge their careers by how they perform at Eldora.
Well, and I think another thing that's going to happen now that people may have not saw coming out of this is that, like you said, a 1A, 1B down there in factory stocks used to have a 1A, 1B with, Pierce and Thornton Jr. That was the discussion. Who's better? Now,
yeah. Over the last year, I would argue that Pierce has been. I would argue that Bobby Pierce. Listen, I'm not here to stir shit up with people, but I've watched those two race head to head. I've watched Bobby race in person several times. I know Bobby. It doesn't matter. I watched the raw speed. He and Ricky have both had raw speed, and it translates to no matter what series they're running. It could be XR, World of Outlaws, or Lucas. Those guys are top cams in the case that Bobby came down and won that race to kick off this season at Boot Hill. But Bobby's just fast, and that's the exact situation that you want to be in, because guess what? Bobby doesn't have to worry about
Ricky now.
Sitting down with a Todd Burns. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to sit down and get this kind of conversation with a Todd Burns, because Dad, Bob, is turning to the riches, and that's their own family-funded team. I mean, he has run for Dunn Benson Ford. He's ran for some funded teams in the past, and had a car owner, but you know what? He went and did that deal and found out that that's not, and Bobby struggled too. Like a lot of drivers struggle. You have to struggle to get to the good times. What a lot of people forget, Ricky didn't set the world ablaze when he first got with SSI 4 years ago. I mean, he was very good and consistent, but he wasn't dominating like he's done the last couple of years.
Right.
But that's what it is. It takes time, man. It takes time. A lot of these guys are just going to jump in and set the world on fire immediately. Like, you can see the talent that Ricky's had since day one, but as far as dominating to the extent that he's done it, it takes time, like I said.
Yeah, I just think now, is Pierce 1A, and maybe the 1B who's really looked quick here recently is Devin Moran. He's really
Devin's
quicked up.
Yeah,
here.
Devin's been really really impressive this year. I mean, he's got this.
Well, I say more so in the last month. It's really shot up.
Yeah, he's been really consistent all year. Like you can always expect him to qualify well and be right there in the mix. And there's a lot of other guys that are right there too. I mean, we haven't seen Overton as much on the national scene this year as in years past. But you could say his teammate is Ryan Gustin, and you see how well Ryan Gustin's been running those Infinity cars. And that's what I love so much about dirt late model racing is, the chassis brand, the chase. At first they were keeping this whole Infinity by Will thing really hush, until Overton kind of came out and said, no, this is actually an Infinity car, because he and an announcer down at Victory Lane were kind of going back and forth, and he said, no, this is an Infinity car, and everybody's like, what? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So anyway, that it's pretty interesting. But Longhorn race cars have been dominating the super dirt late model or the dirt late model scene for the last couple of years. I mean, and Hudson was really, really good in the Rocket 1, and it would have been neat to see Tiff McCready jump in and have quick success. But a lot of the drivers that I talked to that have run both of those style of cars say that the Rocket races completely different or drives completely different than the Longhorn. So, it's all about driving style and what the fit is for you. But I'm still not counting out T-Mac either. I think that he's had plenty of races now. He showed a little bit of strength here and there, but I think for the end of this year, I think T-Mac's going to get him some wins.
Right. Well, and then you just had a commenter that say RTJ to Shep's role next year is factory ride, and Sheppy back to the Rocket 1. McCready is the odd man out.
Man, listen. Can I just say something real quick, Chaz? And look, this person that just made this comment, like, that's great. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm certainly not saying you're right. Like, who am I? Look, I'm a fan armed to the microphone, right? I announce races down here in the South, and I love doing it. And I'm also a fan. Like, I love late models, and I've watched more sprint car racing this year than probably ever have. I'm just a fan of our sport, right? I want it to do well, and I want the drivers in it to be able to perform well and put on great shows for race fans. That's what it's ultimately all about. But
well, and Tim McCready's
I
silently
don't
in
know.
fourth. It does seem like Tim McCready's on a soft year, and almost it kind of gives that feel that Tim McCready is in a. Is the career going to keep going or career going to stop kind of year? It does give that feel. And I think that's because we're used to McCready being Tim McCready and just waxing some ass, and he's not doing it as much. Kind of like it ain't like he fell off as bad as Jimmy Owens did. Jimmy Owens fell off the map the last 2 years, it feels like. But, Tim McCready, it feels like it's one of those years where he has to perform or, hey, you ain't going to have something next year, but he's still fourth in the standing.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say he's fourth in the standings too. I mean, I think he only has one Lucas Oil win this year, and that was an All-Tech all the way back in February. So
he's a championship driver.
Dude, he had a really, really good run with Taylor Motorsports. He won 2 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series championships, and outside of Josh Richards was the first driver to win a World of Outlaws and then a Lucas Oil title. He did it for Best Performance Motorsports in 2016. But Tim McCready was the second driver to ever accomplish that feat. And then, of course, Shepard tried to accomplish that feat as well. But, hey, look, and to a lot of people, to Brandon Shepard's standards, I know he finished second at Deer Creek at the Gopher 50 the other night, but Shepard has not been where you would expect Shepard. Yeah, but where Brandon Shepard has been over the last 10 to 12 years. And I think, look, he did, man. He had better runs in the Rocket cars. I don't know if his driving style just doesn't mesh with the Longhorn. I don't know. Like I said, hey, let's give him a little bit more time. He's still right there. Let's not forget he's still the World of Outlaw late model point leader. I mean, I think he just got it back from Nick Hoffman, who was another great driver. I mean, I love late models, man. I mean, you talk about Nick Hoffman, who's also been rattling off some wins over there on the World of Outlaw side. So it's really fun to watch all these different drivers, former modified aces like Ricky and Nick and, Cade Dillard. All these guys. I mean, we need these transplants from these different disciplines of dirt track racing to come in and, continue to build the sport and build names for themselves. So, we'll continue to have great stars going forward, because if not, then, hey, the old guys like Tim McCready, I'm not really trying to call Tim old, but at some point, Tim, like in 10 years, Tim will be 60 years old. So, I mean, Tim is trying to get the best of what he has left in his career to offer, and man, I'm a huge Tim McCready fan, so nobody wants to see him have more success than me. I guarantee it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned modified guys. I was trying to pull it up there just a little bit. SSI Motorsports, I believe they had a guy who's where's this guy at right now? It crossed my mind. Kyle Strickler. I believe Kyle Strickler went to the SSI Motorsports team there before right there in the mix of the O'Neal Thornton situation, I think, and then he went to the Bloomer, and then he went away. It seemed like.
I don't recall Kyle Strickler ever driving for. I don't recall Kyle ever driving for SSI Motorsports. Or maybe he did. I don't.
It happened like 2 weeks, and that was it.
Huh. Well, yeah, Kyle was impressive too. I feel like ever since a couple years ago, that Intercontinental Classic, the 50,000 win race during COVID. It's been several years, but he got a flat tire off of turn 4, blew the right rear coming to the checkers and lost it, and I feel like ever since then it's been kind of the downward spiral in his super late model career. And Kyle's a fucking really amazing modified driver, but I mean, we've seen some really, really good stuff out of him, and Lucas too. So
where'd he go? Where's he at?
Super late model world. He's been running modifieds. He was at he drove one of Cade Dillard's modifieds at Deer Creek, Mississippi Thunder.
Oh, for the big dream.
And was supposed to maybe be doing that for the big deal, and he ended up not running one of Cade CDR cars. But yeah, Kyle's a great racer. Like to see him back in it. But hey, man, that shit costs a lot of money too. Funding, man, is these late models are not cheap hot rods, man.
No, they ain't.
There's been less parity, I think, in super late model racing. I mean, we could sit here and name some guys, but at the same time, you could think that maybe 10, 15 years ago, and a guy would hop in like at East Bay at the Winter Nationals, and go and pick off a win. I'm trying to think of a guy's name off the top of my head. Usually I'm on cue on this shit, but anyway, yeah. there's been less parity. I think there's been a little bit more parity in sprint cars, which is really interesting.
Yeah, this is kind of like usually late models is full of the drama a little bit more than the sprint car world, but this is kind of like the first one, I feel like, of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Kyle Strickler. Okay, it was PPC Motorsports, not SSI.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
We always talk about how, there's more money in dirt late model racing over sprint car racing too. I feel like the sprint car world's kind of caught up too. I mean, the Dream and the World Dirt Track Championship, I think, are the only 100,000 to win dirt late model races this year. You've got the Houston's Hustle, the Houston's Nationals, Joker's Wild, the Kings Royal, the Knoxville Nationals, Skagit Nationals, and the Gold Cup.
Gold Cup,
like
yeah.
8
And the Roth
wins.
Motorsports race is 83.
Yeah, that's pretty wild to think, the sprint cars have got that much different money on the line. But anyway, man, I'm just rambling on at this point, so I don't know what your comments are talking about.
They're just talking.
It was fun, man.
It is 1:14 in the morning, so.
Yeah, it's 12:14 here, but
yeah.
I understand, man. I just wanted to call in and cut it up with you, man. I told you one night I'd call in, man, but one night we will get you on the podcast, man. I'd like to have a deep dive and really talk about some interesting topics and some things that I think people would be interested to hear you talk about. So
nice. Okay. Definitely down. Do you even have the podcast going yet?
Yeah. I've already recorded a couple episodes. You can go check it out.
What's the name?
Race On produces it. It's called Clark After Dark.
Oh God.
Yeah. I've got a logo and all that. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I record it with no pants on. It sounds kind of provocative. Clark After Dark.
Funny, the Strickler, it says the PPC car prior to Spencer Hughes, which is Huddy's de facto father-in-law. Interesting tie in there.
Craig Sims, yeah, Craig Sims.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe he did have a little short stint there. But yep. There was one other thing. Hey, I do want to encourage people that just because you think something I know the rumor mill is swirling like a fucking hurricane right now. Like, I get that. I get it. It's insane right now. But you don't have to believe every single thing, ladies and gentlemen, that you see on social media to be fact, and you don't have to reshare it. That's one of the things that has driven me most nuts. If you go look at my most recent Facebook post from earlier, if we judge the entirety of this racing community based off of what you see and read in the comment section, like under the Hudson O'Neal hiring this and that and the third, man, there's a lot of toxicity in there, man. Like, I get it. A lot of people are really upset. I get it. People are upset. But, man, it's not any fault of Hudson's own. Like, he's a great race car driver, and he's just taking advantage of the opportunity given to him. All the other
speculation, but facts are boring. Speculation is fun. It is.
Yeah,
fun.
It is. And you made a good point. But the reason why there's so much speculation is because nobody really still knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows shit about
their
shit.
fucking fault.
Yeah, it kind of is. Like you said, man. You made a point yesterday on a post that I saw you make about, if an NFL wide receiver is not showed up at camp for whatever reason, this may not have been the exact point, but let's just say, CeeDee Lamb doesn't show up to Dallas Cowboys camp. Why he's not showing up is because it's a contract dispute, because he wants to get paid. Well, in this situation, Ricky just got fired, and we really don't fucking know why. So everybody's freaking out and speculating, which is understandable.
Well, and even in the CeeDee Lamb deal, and this was my other point, play the game if it's something more. Like, say CeeDee Lamb doesn't show up, and it's because of contract. Maybe the real reason is like the GM fucked his girlfriend, but at least they provide a logical reasoning that is like, oh, okay, that makes sense, instead of just fucking nothing.
Yeah. Everything's always been very hush-hush in our sport. You know that. That's how it's been. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just, and it's not always everybody's business, although we'd like it to be our business. It comes out in time, whether it's hearsay or, maybe it's fact, maybe it's not down the road. But, a lot of people will try to get the facts, off record. But that's kind of always been the frustrating part of it is nobody ever just comes out and say, hey, this guy was fired for this particular reason.
Somebody said Honey
this
is
hard
a
to
snake,
swallow.
period. It doesn't look good for him. It doesn't. It just doesn't.
Dude, how? That's what I disagree
and
with.
for Ricky
how does
Thornton
he
to
look
be
like a
just
snake?
well, I think it's because, Ricky Thornton Jr. is perceived as slapped out of nowhere.
Right. Well, I mean,
And Hudson O'Neal would have had to know about that. Here's the deal. Hudson O'Neal would have had to know about that slap if he was going in the car.
Well, you would think, listen, this is just me just off a whim speculating, and I don't like doing this, but if you just sit here and think about it, you would think, because Burns has supplied the hauler and apparently some rollers and some different things for Hudson while he's trying to get his own, racing team up and going after he left Rocket. And this is just, again, this is me on a whim and speculating. You would think that if you're Hudson O'Neal, and because you're 24 years old, let's keep this in mind and let's go through it here, Chaz. If you're 24 years old and you're driving for the baddest dirt late model team, most people would argue that the Rocket One is the standard. As good as Longhorns have been, the Mark Richards racing team is the standard in dirt late model racing. You saw what Shepard did in the car. So if you're 24-year-old Hudson O'Neal and you just won the World 100 in the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series Championship, and he's like, no. And not only that, you started off at Volusia and, in Speed Weeks, and you won, I think he won 3 or 4 races to kick off the year in the Rocket One car. And then after the brief break after Speed Weeks, that's whenever he departs from this car. But you would think, don't you think that he had to have thought about his future pretty in depth before he just decides, and I'm not saying that he and Todd Burns have talked. I'm not trying to speculate that far. Let's don't go too far down the rabbit hole. But, man, if I'm going to leave that race car, because, listen, he's 24 years old. All he has to do is show up and drive the shit out of the race car. Mark Richards is real strict about when you show up to that race car at the racetrack on the night that you race, you show up to drive the shit out of my race cars. And that's all you have to do. He has no kids. He does have a girlfriend. But, dude, that is the dream job if you're Hudson O'Neal. And, I mean, it could have been a lot, there could have been a lot of other things. It could have been just fucking terrible for him, but I don't see how bad it could really be. You know what I mean? Show up, drive the shit out of a race car, go home, go to bed, wake up, repeat, rinse, repeat. You would think for him to depart that car like that something had to have been in the works, despite him getting his own little family thing going. The O'Neal Cycle and Salvage, the big sponsorship.
Right.
I don't know, man. It is really fucking nuts to really compartmentalize. And again, I know I'm rambling on a little bit.
And once
here,
again,
so
I said to the guy
you.
earlier, these rich people who own race cars, they're just fans. It could be as simple as Todd Burns is a big Hudson O'Neal fan. It really could be just that simple.
Well, there's no doubt they have a past relationship, and there's obviously they had a good run in the past, and then Hudson, he went about and he further progressed his career, and and now they're back. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen a former combination of driver and car owner come back together, just like you saw Randy Moss leave the Vikings and go back and play for the Vikings later in his career, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes those kind of things happen,
But we'll see who's going to let the news out on why. That'll be the ticking time bomb now.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to know why. I think I'm
if
just
they want these fucking rumors of what was the one? What was the one that was being lied about? The Todd been fun in the 71, wanted a 2-car team to share notebooks. Ricky didn't want 2 cars and said, fuck you.
Yeah, and look,
that's a
Jeremy
full
shared
lie.
that.
That's
his own brother.
Lie.
Yeah, I know. Ricky's brother Jeremy shared that on his Facebook, and then I mean, it was hard to tell whether he was sharing it to be his fact. But hey, even if that were fact, I'm kind of with Ricky on that. Everything that me and Burrows and Jaco and everybody's built on this race car, we're just gonna fucking hand over our notebook now. That's wild. But I mean, teammates do that. But it's different if you're a teammate from the jump. He and Hudson have been teammates for the last few years, and they kind of developed and had this amount of success together, right? That's a different story. But to have that singular success,
if that is the truth, if that rumor, because the guy's saying it's not a lie in the comments, if that is the truth, that conversation was not had this last weekend or the week before. That was a month ago conversation. That was not a meeting on Sunday conversation. Tell you that much.
Well, everything that I've seen, for what it's worth, and I try not to base too much fact on what I see on social media, but when I do see it come from a credible source, like Ricky's wife Shay herself, telling a lady earlier, look, this isn't more than what meets the eye. This is exactly what was said. Like, I know we all want to know more, like why. Sure, everybody still wants to kind of know why it happened, but as far as everybody's different speculations and stuff, Shay kind of nipped that right in the bud earlier. I'd have to go back and find the exact comment, but she said no. Like, there wasn't a conversation. He and Ricky sat down. This was bam, bam, hey, sorry, thanks for your time here. And there wasn't like, hey, you did this wrong or did that wrong. There wasn't anything presented to Ricky as far as what Shay said that, hey, you did this wrong. And there wasn't nothing. Like, he didn't present him with anything like that. So Ricky could say, well, is there something we could work on? Because there wasn't any of that for him to come back and, say that. So it's really wild that that this situation has occurred the way it has.
Just wanted a driver in a car. That's all it was.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, yeah, hey, one of the greatest runs, before I get off here, nobody will forget it. One of the greatest runs we have seen for a dirt late model team. He's won several crown jewels. He didn't knock down the big ones at Eldora, but he was always a force and a factor to be dealt with. And everybody that has been a fan of dirt track racing for over the last 15 years knows what Ricky Thornton Jr. knows who he is, knows what he represents, and what he's capable of, man. And that dude is a assassin. He is a assassin behind the wheel of a race car. And wherever he goes from here, Chaz, I have no doubt in my mind that he will rise above all this shit, and he will. I think he's going to be a stone cold killer. Give him a little bit of time to iron out whatever next opportunity that he gets, but I guarantee you this motivates him even more to be better than he already is, and that's a fucking scary and a lethal combination.
Top 5 over the week, or no?
Top five. We don't even know who he's driving for this week.
Well, Kohler Motorsports, the Jimmy Owens teammate.
Well, but that hasn't.
In a Longhorn.
I get it, but that hasn't. Has that been released?
No, it hasn't, but it seems to be pretty much.
Exactly. I can't. I'm not going to jump that far.
I'm just saying. Okay, well, let's just say he's in a car this weekend, new team, and it's set up. I think no matter what it is, he's in the top 5 by the end of the week.
I think at this point, what's going to be important for him, and this is if he can solidify himself and find a permanent ride to go forward. Obviously, he wants to win races, but most people need to temper their expectations and realize the situation and everything that the shitty hand that he's been dealt. He has to keep his expectations tempered right now, Chaz. What he needs to do, obviously, is try to retain the Lucas Oil points lead. I don't see him dropping out of the top 4 by the time they get to, I can't remember the racetrack, but it's 7 races, I believe it. Yeah, so it's 7 races, right? It doesn't come down to one final race this year like it did at the Dirt Track World Championship. So it's 7 races. He wants to lock into that top 4, and I have no doubt that if he just stays consistent, then he will. But I don't know exactly what the point lead is, the intervals right now, but I would imagine he's got a pretty, a fairly healthy point lead right now, and most definitely over 4th running Tim McCready. So the goal, and I'm sure the expectation for him is to run consistently right now. And I hate to say it, Ricky's not much of a points racer. He's kind of one of those guys that takes the approach to, hey, let's win races and allow the points to fall where they may. But I think from this point forward, granted, hey, he might get into the race car and it's just immediate fucking jail for him, and he starts back to kicking ass immediately. I
think the thing he has going for him is he is a driver, crew chief. And like you said, Burrows didn't do much. Ricky Thornton Jr. did.
Burrows did a lot more than I think.
I'm just saying, prior to Ricky Thornton Jr.
Because Burrows is a former racer too.
Here's the point.
Okay,
you gave me an example of Burrows failing, technically, as a crew chief. I can't give you I can't give you an example of Ricky Thornton Jr. failing in anything he pursued.
And that's all opinion based too. Like I wasn't saying that Burroughs was a failure by any stretch. I just say that he had a little bit of a struggle at one particular time, but there's been, a lot of crew chiefs at one point in time or another that may have struggled, in a little bit of a time. That was when they were with Clint Boyer, and Davenport didn't have his best run then. They were in Club 29 cars, and nothing against the Club 29. At that time, they were kind of a hot commodity. I mean, Dennis R. Jr. won the Dirt Late Model Dream in a Black Diamond, a Club 29 car. So, and Darrell Lanigan obviously won a shit ton of races in those cars. So, and that's another thing, this chassis and all that stuff, it's cyclical, and you'll see some come in. Right now, the hot commodity's been Longhorn, and it's been that for the last few years. So,
well, Burroughs did win his championship or whatever, but I mean, I'm just saying, I don't have an example.
He won with Donnie O'Neal.
I don't have an example of Ricky Thornton Jr. slowing down. Everything he's got into, he figures it out and goes to the front. Even the late model, it took longer than it needed to, but it was a super late model. It was a whole nother level at the top echelon of dirt racing in the fendered world. It would take 2 years to start dominating the fucking industry. And that's what he did.
Right.
Just like he dominated stock cars, dominated modifieds, dominated everything he got in. So I just see it. I see him progressing quickly with whatever team. I don't doubt a top 5 by the end of the week by Lucas Oil Saturday, because I know that he is the one out there figuring that shit out. He's the one figuring it out, being that elite. Ricky Thornton Jr. could be an elite crew chief if he wanted to be. He just knows how to fucking drive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because Burroughs is a former racer too. I mean, he's raced super late models, and sometimes the best crew chiefs are former racers. So, yeah, absolutely. I may take one night, may take 2 nights to gel with whatever new team he race for.
When Hot Laps hit the track last night at Lincoln, I watched Brandon Shepherd go into 1 and 2 and rip and jump out of the corner. And I was like, damn, track's fast. Then they panned the camera over to Ricky. It looked like the fucking car had a steel block in it. The nose wasn't even coming up when he got in the throttle. It wasn't even, I don't know what motor they had in there. I don't want to say it was junk, but it didn't look like it was on the same level as Shepherd, Brandon's. So, I mean, and he took that car.
He had the Clements in there.
Well, but my point is he took that car and drove through the field in the A-Main with no cautions.
Yeah, at one point he was almost a victim. Yeah, at one point of that race he was almost a victim of getting lapped. But, but that is the difference in the SSI car that he'd been driving. He would have never been a victim of going down a lap. I haven't seen Ricky get lapped, and it's been a hot minute, son. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference in just go hop behind the wheel of a car. But he did, man. Listen, I get your point. He got the absolute most and the best out of the tools that he was given. He's a racer's racer, and man, I have no doubts. I would listen, like I said, I would go out even far enough on a limb to say I wouldn't be shocked if he won one of these upcoming races with a new team.
Right.
I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to say that he can't do it, because he absolutely can do it. He absolutely can.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to say he could win it. I'll say top 5 pretty assured. And that's a limb to a lot of people. But you got to also understand World of Outlaws is at Sharon. He ain't going to be dealing with Bobby Pierce and Brandon Shepherd. I mean, he's going to be dealing with Davenport and the other boys, but it ain't a collab race. It ain't like every heavy hitter's there. It's the Lucas boys, which is a stronger field. I'll say that. Moran, throw them in there. I mean, but I still feel like Ricky Thornton Jr., a night 2 in if it's Kohler, a good car, good equipment, everything's there ready to go, and he's got to figure it out. He will get top 5 by the end of the weekend, and if he wins, like you said, no surprise to me.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all, man. These wins are always earned; they're never given. And so, if he did it, he'd absolutely had earned it, and that would have been the case if he's still with SSI or whoever it is. The driver has done his job more oftentimes than he has not, and again, that's why we'd be not too surprised if he was able to get the job done this week. So everybody's going to be tuned in watching on Flow to see what he does. And, man, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see, like we said, we'll beat the horse dead on it.
Is this?
I'm
Did
excited
they
to see
pull
what
the
they
strings?
do. I don't know.
Is this
I don't
all
know
planned, Zach? Is this the Illuminati working its way in?
No, man. No.
Everybody
Hell
wanted to
no,
see
man.
Lincoln. Nobody would have cared. Everybody all of a sudden cared.
Hey. Yeah.
The ratings for Thursday
I
are
don't
going to
know.
be out the roof. Hudson in the new
I'm
SSI car.
I'm sure.
The fucking Ricky Thornton in the new car. Oh my God, what's gonna? This is WWE tactics. Who is an investor into Flow, by the way?
Yeah, well, yeah, on the
We can
wrestling
go
side
look
of
it
it and
up.
all that. You know, of course,
You want to
they
look
were
it
very.
up?
I know. Well,
WWE is an investor
no,
into the Flow.
the Florianis. No, right. The Florianis were pretty reputable before they jumped into the Flow racing side
Yeah,
of
but
the
it's
business.
a publicly
and they had
traded
Ricky
company
come on
now. They
board.
got investors. It's not just the Florianis.
They did. Right. Well, it's been that way. They've had fucking corporate investors for several years. You know, as a matter of fact, the Flow racing side of that business, I think, is their best business now. So.
But if you were going to
they
WWE
built
the
a pretty
sport up,
reputable business.
this is what you would do.
Look, man, this is where I draw the line and say no, not on our level, Chaz. Our sport, like, I think
do it
you
in
would
politics.
agree.
They do it in politics, damn it.
Yeah, they do. As big as sometimes our sport may seem, in the grand scheme of things, we are still a fairly small industry. You know, we're kind of like an underground sport. And a lot of people
Gambling's
don't
here.
realize that.
It's into USAC. Here it comes.
Yeah, hey man, I'm here for it.
When
But as
gambling
long as it
gets
doesn't
here,
start,
it's on.
yeah, as long as it doesn't start fucking up the integrity of the sport. You know, that's one thing we have is for the most part, is integrity.
Well, this is why
you know, when
gambling
you
in
show up, you're
motorsports
gonna
is
get,
hilarious.
You're gonna, you're gonna get a raw product. You know, you never know what you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? You know what you're gonna get. On the other end, you never know what you're gonna get when you go to the dirt track, and that's what's fun. You may have an idea of who you think's gonna win or be competitive, but nobody really ever fucking knows. But that's why they also lace them up and play the game, whether it's baseball, football, this and that, and that's why people gamble on it. Nobody really ever fucking knows, and that's why we tune in and watch every single time.
At least they say. That's what they say.
Yeah, it's getting, hey, the old honey hole is getting more and more out there every single year. You know what I'm saying? I try not to subscribe. Yeah, I try not to subscribe to all that crazy shit, but it is what it is, and it is what it ain't.
All right, we'll stop before we get the show a flag.
Yeah. I say, I'm like, oh shit, we're going down the deep dark interwebs now. Here we have it.
All
hey
right.
man, thanks for having me on. I
web.
think I rambled. Oh shit. Hey man, it was cool to cut up with you, man. I feel like I rambled a little bit here, but hopefully I didn't wear anybody out. I don't think I've ever called in and been on a show before, so it's been a minute at least anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, we got bets in the chat now.
Bets on what?
$50 no top 4 this week, Ricky Thornton.
Oh.
That's tough. Because I could see.
I think we said top 5.
I did say top 5, but he's trying to make money. I can see him getting top 5, but I don't think that Marlar, Davenport, and Moran.
Well, listen, when you talk about 34 Raceway, you got to throw in Chad and Chris Simpson too, who aren't regulars on the Lucas Oil Tour, who can run that track any given time. So
MLRA
you know
guys.
what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's anybody's guess. You know what I'm saying? That's what's so much fun about it, man. The regional guys will be a factor too.
I'm just equating the national. I mean, McCready, Davenport, Marlar, Moran is a solid.
Hey,
top
can
4.
I correct you real quick? I know that you in the past you had a little bit of connection with the Skyline Motorsports stuff and this and that. You know it's Mike Marlar, right?
I love saying Mike Marlar. Sounds way better.
I know. You've always said it. I'm not here to be correctional, Chris. I'm just
tomato. Illinois. Fuck him.
Yeah, you say Marlar, and I'm like, does he know? I figured you would know, but.
Jeez.
All
right.
Hey man, we need to get you back on iRacing. I can kick your ass at timer 5.
We'll see.
I played it for what it's worth, and nobody gives a shit except for me. So I'm just going to tell you real fast before I hop off here. I haven't raced in about a month. I hopped on earlier to run a money race, a league race, and was leading the fucking race, Chaz, on lap 23, and my internet decided to power cycle, and off the racetrack I went.
That's hard.
I was so pissed, dude. I was ready to punch a hole through my fucking monitor, dude. I couldn't have been any more aggravated.
That's a hard.
But that's what you get when you try to compete on these iRacing streets, son. You never know. You just never know. Yep. All right, brother. Hey, it was fun, man. Hey, I appreciate all you do for racing, man. A lot of people give you so much fucking shit. I've said it for a few times on here. I felt like just cussing tonight, but a lot of people give you shit, and I think a lot of times they're not understanding the substance of what you're talking about, and they misunderstand really where you're coming from. But for what it's worth, man, and I'm not going to get all mushy on you, but I know where you come from. We've walked a lot of the same racetracks around the Mid-South, and I mean, I love your passion for our sport, man. You got a big heart for it, and I think a lot of time, like I said, I see vitriol, a lot of vitriol and just unacceptable, quite frankly, people's comments towards you that aren't necessary because they're not really listening to the substance of what you're talking about, and yet they're not really trying to find out either. So thank you, man, for what you do for racing, and let's make it more common for people to actually want to listen to what Chaz's opinion is. Because you know what, I think it's credible to want to listen to what you have to say, and so let's make calling into Chaz's show something fun to do throughout the week because nobody else is doing it. So man, I tip my cap to you for giving people a lifeline to want to talk about this sport we love so much, man. So anyway, we'll talk at you later.
All righty, well, thanks for those comments. It means a lot.
All right, brother. See you.
Thank you. I'm not crying on the show. We got to go for the tears come running down. Don't let him fool you. He used to rip on R Factor. It's true. It's true. Kyle Larson called me a good race car driver because Kyle couldn't beat me. He could keep up in hot laps and qualifying. I'd play with them in the heat race, and then I would just slap him around. Ricky Thornton, same thing. Chase Briscoe, man, he was mid-packer. He's a mid-packer in real life. He called me the Steve Kinzer of online racing, and it's just true. It's just true. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we did do well in a real car as well. We almost won our third race, but we burned our leg in the process of racing that car. Who and what is a Huddy? Well, that's what she said. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to the show. We will be here live probably Thursday. We might take tomorrow off. Depends on what happens. Maybe the Ricky Thornton Jr. Kohler deal will be announced. Maybe we'll get somebody to call in. Possibly Doug Rollo on the show, actually. We may get Doug Rollo on the show, so stay tuned for that. That was a interview I want to have happen. It is a good video that he put out the other day, similar to Zach Clark's comments there, but Doug Rollo, legendary DFW track promoter, motorsports enthusiast, would be a really good show. So stay tuned. I think we'll make that happen. We'll see if we can solidify that. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe so you get the post updates, or go to my Facebook, Long Live the Chaz, as well as Twitter, Long Live the Chaz over there. Everywhere you go, it's pretty much Long Live the Chaz. TikToks, all that, Instagram, and we'll give you the updated posts as well. But thanks for tuning in to the show. Those who called, thank you for calling in as well. Button to join the channel, the membership, click it there. Also linked in the description for direct support, PayPal, Venmo. Get your name up on the top right of the screen. Actually, both of them are PayPal supporters. We actually list them differently in the description. Be sure to like the video, share it around, even if you can't join the show. Sharing is definitely caring. Getting the views up is what helps it keep going around month after month. And it is hard out here for a Velox pimp, as you can see. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and we will catch you next time.
Ready to rip, ready to reach. Place my bets, hey, you never know when playing on host what you can achieve. Making the go, peace with the soul, don't matter the bottom with what you believe. Cause if I'm taking it